Get them going. I'm ready to go.
Get it going. So I can drink my clap.
Okay.
What?
Do we? No, we got,
It's clattered over.
there, now we got a quorum. We don't have a, we don't have a.
Wait on
clerk.
John.
Oh, and it was called.
We're clerkless.
Righty then. Let's go ahead and get started again. Number 2 on new business. A resolution to approve a budget adjustment in the amount of $40,000 to provide funding for payment of the costs related to the Uniform Non-Discrimination Protection Special Election. Paul, I believe you
No, I
have.
think this is Saunders.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay, Paul can explain it to you, but Mayor, Council, when you, approve the Uniform Non-Discrimination Special Election, you do not approve a budget adjustment to pay for that special election. City has to pay for that election, and so this is a budget adjustment to pay for that election.
Okay, Paul, you want to add anything to that?
Well, that kind of sums it up. I'd put it in a classification of housekeeping. The council decided that they wished for the special election, this $40,000, which is our estimated cost for the election, to reimburse the county for election costs. Majority of that goes to election workers. Also is used for ballots and advertising and notification as is necessary required by law. So
By law?
there. Yep.
Okay.
Mayor, might add one point, since we've had a lot of TV inquiries on this particular item. The city pays for any election that is held within the city limits, whether it's special or general election.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Kit, Paul said this was required by law. Is that true, or do we really even have an option whether or not we do this?
I think it'd be pretty hard to stiff the county. You know, you all called the election, and we have to pay for it. So this is gonna be a bill coming due. They estimate it's gonna be 40,000. Hopefully it'll be less, because we used to do them for 20,000. I don't know what's happened. But regardless, we have to pay the bill.
Well, I guess in my mind, I figure that's all the discussion that's necessary, and I'd move we pass the resolution.
Second.
Hang on, Peter. What discussion?
As I understand the rules of order, we're pretty informal about it, but when there's a motion and a second to do something like this on the floor, the vote's required.
No, actually, No, that's not right. I mean, oftentimes we wait and make the motion and a second at the very end, but it doesn't mean that because there's a motion and a second that has ended discussion.
Okay.
The only way to end discussion would have to be a motion for an immediate vote, which requires a two-thirds vote to do that, because then you're cutting off discussion.
Okay.
All right. John.
Thank you. I'm looking at an email I received from one of my constituents talking about flooding in her yard. Chris Brown, you know, I've always maintained that flooding is a mathematical solution. I mean, we can figure out how to get rid of water. Either pump it out or run it down the other side of the hill or somewhere. And Chris Brown told us all it's all a matter of money. And here we're going to spend $40,000 on a special election that Kit Williams himself admits that this issue is going to probably be decided by a judge sometime. So I'm not sure that investing the $40,000 is going to get where we want to get. And we have other things we should be spending money on. It's what I said during the discussion when this was originally passed. Listen to us. We're discussing theology and human sexuality. Shouldn't we be talking about trash collection and street repair, the things that the city is engaged in? Those items that we all agree on. In Fayetteville, we have liberals, we have conservatives, we have Democrats, we have Republicans, we have homosexuals, we have heterosexuals. We have very many diverse citizenry. But we all agree on 5 things. We all want fire protection, no matter what your political stripe. We all want police protection, no matter what your political stripe. We all want streets without potholes, no matter what your political stripe. We all want city services. I went to my mechanic's shop today. There was a city crew repairing a water line that had broken. They were telling me that the water mains in their city are old and needed replacement. I shook their hands and patted them on the back and said, look, when I turn on the water in my house, I take it all for granted. You guys are out here making it happen. Thank you. You know, we sit here in our seats of power and we make these decisions of policy and whatnot, and they're the ones out there making it happen. I appreciate them very much. But this is something else, a deteriorating infrastructure. I mean, it's state law, we're going to pay for it, I understand that, but I just feel like somebody needs to speak out and talk about priorities. And I know you'll say civil rights are a priority, and I would agree, but there's going to be a debate about what is a civil right. And we did have a state legislature act earlier this spring that passed a law that said cities and municipal governments and county governments cannot grant civil rights to a greater extent than the state. And I think that's just what we're doing, so I think it probably will be challenged. I agree with Mr. Williams. Probably the issue will be decided by a court of law, not by a vote of the people. But I understand if it's state law, we have to fund it. We can't stiff the county. I know that. But I'm just trying to highlight, I think it's been a wasteful effort.
Okay.
My piece.
Okay. Okay. What public comments do we have on this?
I'm Kyle Smith at 2801 West Dove Drive, and there was a lot in that didn't have anything to do with funding, but I think we should remember that that's what this is about, that you all have made a commitment, and now it's simply time to follow through on that. There are many things that we all agree on in the city, and one of those is that we should have a nice functioning democracy where all of the citizens get to participate, and that has a cost as well, and this is simply that cost. So I appreciate your scheduling the election, and now I would appreciate you paying your bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Peter.
Peter Tonneson, Ward 3. Mark Twain said, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth can get its boots on. So we're getting our boots on here to deal with this lie. I'm opposed to this because it's basically a fraud against the citizens of this city, and it's a waste of their money, and it's going to create a situation where very great amounts of money are wasted on litigation. How do we know that this is a fraud? This is essentially, at its heart, the same law that the citizens rejected last year. It's a law that intends to use the police power of the government to punish people for the exercise of their personal religious faith. That's what it is, and it hasn't changed. Kit Williams has it masquerading now as some subset of the Arkansas Civil Rights Act. However, it omits the key provision of that law, Section 16-123-102, Sub 8, which is the definition of religion. And it also does no justice to the Arkansas Constitution, which has its own right of conscience in, I think it's Article 2, Section 24. But how do we know this law is a lie? Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. said, sin has many tools, but a lie is the handle which fits them all. And the handle for this law is that it calls itself a uniform Civil Rights Protection Act. Now let me tell you why it's not uniform. It's not uniform by definition because uniform means something. It means not varying or changing, staying the same at all times in all places or for all parts or members. This law is clearly designed to protect one group, and it has this phony council that can be completely stacked by the
Okay,
city
Peter,
council.
let's ratchet it down just a little bit.
No, actually, you know, there is something in the minutes for this city, and I don't know how they got in here, in which you seem to think that you have the right to tell citizens that we cannot criticize government officials. There were two cases decided in 1964, New York Times versus Sullivan and Garrison versus Louisiana. Both were...
Kent, would you interject
We,
here?
well, we actually do have rules of order and procedure, and the mayor is the presiding officer to maintain that the rules of order and procedure shall be followed. And our rules say that any member of the public shall first state his or her name and address, followed by a concise statement of the person's position on the question under discussion, and that is whether we should have money to pay our bills. It has nothing to do about whether this civil rights ordinance is a good ordinance or a bad ordinance, should be passed, shouldn't be passed. The question that is before the city council tonight is, should we do a budget adjustment so the city clerk can pay the bill? That is the whole question, nothing about what you're talking. You're trying to argue about something that was decided months ago.
No, it was decided with no discussion by the public. The whole thing was rammed through on 3 votes in one night with a 3-minute, one topic, one chance.
That is not what is before us, and the mayor has every right and responsibility.
What's before you is the wisdom of spending money on this misbegotten law.
Peter, you need to have a seat.
Do you realize that I have
Peter,
the right?
please have a seat, or I will have you escorted down.
Thank you for allowing me to make my record.
Okay. Any public comment on this?
Mr. Mayor, thank you for letting me speak, but I happen to agree with Mr. Thomas, and I think he is absolutely right in expressing his views, and I think he has every right to do so. And I think the city spending money on a special election that is totally unwarranted and gives special rights to certain citizens is
Okay.
completely out of order.
You need to have a seat, please.
Hello, Laura Phillips, 2055 South Klein, Ward 1. Yay. It's a simple question. Mayor, do we have the money in the budget for this?
We do not.
Okay. But we have places we can get the money to put in the budget for this.
It's a budget adjustment.
Budget adjustment. So it's not going to be, I mean, we're not going to have to, like, take out a mortgage on the city to pay for it.
No, I think we can cut.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the council. We have a motion and a second to pass the resolution. What final comments do we have from the council?
Mayor,
Yes, John?
I understand you have to keep order in your meetings, but I'm appalled that you let other people in the previous discussion go on for 20 or 30 minutes, but Mr. Tollison wants to make his points and you shut him off. I just think that was unfair and probably uncalled for. I understand he was emotional, and I understand the need for meeting orderliness, but I wish you'd have given him more time to make his points. When we shut off debate, when we tell people you can't speak, that's what leads to violence. Things build up in a man or a woman, and they want to lash out. That's why we have freedom of speech. And Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision has taught us it's not popular speech that needs protecting. It's unpopular speech that we have to protect. So I hope in the future we'll show some deference to the citizens' ability to speak their mind, if for no other reason than to help them vent, so they won't vent in another forum or another way that might lead to something very undesirable.
I think the mayor
John, I
has
tried
shown
to
great
direct-
patience on this, but the rules that were passed by this city council for their rules of order and procedure says a concise statement of a person's position on the question under discussion. The only question under discussion was never commented on by Peter. Instead, it was simply an attack about an issue that was decided months ago. This is a limited public forum, not an open public forum for anybody to say whatever they want. It's controlled by your rules of order and procedure. You must stick to the question under discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with what Mr. Williams just stated. There's no controversy there. I'd just like to see a uniform application of that rule. In the previous discussion, people droned on about recycling for 20 and 30 minutes, and no one shut them off. No one said you can't speak your mind. But when we get to this issue, we have to shut everybody off. It was just an inconsistent treatment of the people.
No, it's not, John, because under our rules, it says that we're not to be rude to one another. When I hear comments that the city attorney has done some kind of masking of some law, and when I hear that we have a bad counsel, which was another term that he used, but it's a rude and I think disrespectful comment. And all I asked him to do was to ratchet it down a little bit, and he absolutely refused to do that, so I had no alternative but to ask him to take his seat, to keep order in this meeting. And I have the authority to do that.
I respect your authority.
I'm not trying to be mean or ugly to anybody, but I must keep order, and John, I will keep order in these meetings.
I certainly expect that.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the council? I think we have a motion in a second. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Hetty,
Yes.
Latour,
No?
Long,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Resolution passed.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 3. An ordinance rezoning that property described in the zoning petition RZN 15-5103 for approximately .23 acres located at 1837 West Mitchell Street from RMF 24 residential multifamily 24 units per acre to RSF 8 residential single family 8 units per acre. Yep.
Now therefore be ordained by the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby changes the zone classifications following described property from residential multifamily 24 units per acre to residential single family 8 units per acre as shown on Exhibits A and B attached hereto and made a part hereof. And Section 2, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amends the official zoning map of the City of Fayetteville to reflect the zoning change provided in Section 1 above.
Okay, Jeremy.
This property is located on West Mitchell Street, which is in central West Fayetteville, east of I-49. There's a single-family residence constructed in 1939. The current property zoning is RMF 24. The request is to rezone it to residential single-family 8 units per acre. And the applicants indicated the need for that is so the property can be split for development of 2 single-family dwellings. We feel like this proposed zoning would be compatible with the surrounding mix of single and multifamily residential uses within this neighborhood. City Plan 2030 future land use map designates this site, or this area, as a city neighborhood area, so it does support increased infill and density within the area. Planning Commission voted 7-0, and staff is also recommending in support of the ordinance.
Okay, what questions do we have in the City Council to Jeremy? Okay. What public comment do we have on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council.
I'd like
I
to make
move
a
we go
motion.
the second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to go to the second reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Hetty,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning that property described in rezoning petition RZN 15-5103 for approximately .23 acres, located at 1837 West Mitchell Street, from residential multifamily, 24 units per acre, to residential single-family, 8 units per acre.
I move we go to the third and final reading.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to go to the third and final reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Hetty,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
An ordinance rezoning that property described in rezoning petition RZN 15-5103 for approximately .33 acres, located at 1837 West Mitchell Street, from residential multifamily, 24 units per acre, to residential single-family, 8 units per acre.
Any final comments from the council? Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Hetty,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Okay, number 4, an ordinance amending Title 15 Unified Development Code of the City of Fayetteville to amend chapters 161, 164, and 172 to modify the bulk and area regulations to encourage small lot, single-family, and two-family infill in multifamily zoning districts, and to include minimum design standards for this type of development. Kit?
Whereas the City of Fayetteville recognizes that the opportunity to provide appropriate neighborhood density through small lot development supports City Plan 2030 goals of prioritizing infill development and discouraging suburban sprawl, and whereas small lot development with reduced lot sizes and building setbacks may encourage the creation of housing that may be financially attainable to a large segment of the Fayetteville community. And whereas the City of Fayetteville recognizes that small lot developments are appropriate in many areas of the city zoned for high-density multifamily housing. And whereas the overall residential density of single-family and two-family developments in multifamily zoning districts will better match the underlying permitted density by reducing the lot size requirements for residential development. And whereas design standards for narrow lot development shall be utilized to maximize visual transparency between homes and the street, to increase eyes on the street and promote safe urban environments. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby repeals and replaces Chapter 161 zoning regulations with Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof. Section 2, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amends Chapter 164 supplementary zoning regulations by inserting Section 164.23 single-family infill standards as shown on Exhibit B attached hereto and made a part hereof. Excuse me. Section 3, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amends Chapter 172 parking and loading by repealing Section 172.11 G2 driveways beyond the property line and replacing it with the following language. Section 172.11 G2, driveways beyond the property line. Driveways shall be paved from the property line and or master street plan right-of-way with asphalt, concrete, brick or stone pavers or other solid surface, and shall extend 18 feet length into the property. To prevent vehicles from parking over the public sidewalk, garages, and carports shall be positioned to provide at least 18 feet between the sidewalk or master street plan right-of-way and the garage or carport.
Chairman?
Thank you, Mayor. The underlying purpose of this ordinance amendment the staff is bringing forward is to calibrate our multifamily zoning districts to allow for an increase in our single-family development. If you look at the densities in a lot of our multifamily development, or multifamily zoning districts, it really encourages only multifamily development. If you try to develop a single-family home, you might get half or less of the density within that same district. So just like the rezoning application you heard just before this item, someone was actually downzoning to get an additional single-family unit on the property. So that's the underlying purpose. Rather than go through that tonight, however, we are investigating a few more changes that we'd like to incorporate within this ordinance that have come up in some discussions from the council members in the last few meetings, and so we'd like to be able to do that with this ordinance. So in order to give us a little bit more time to do that, I would like to ask that we table this to September 15th, in order for us to be able to present this item back to you, with those amendments.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Yes.
I will be at the Destination Downtown Conference on September 15th, and I'd like to participate in this discussion and vote, so if there was
2 weeks after
another,
that would be fine as
2
well.
weeks after that, I think would be,
Like 6 weeks, all right?
Should be October the first meeting.
Sixth.
6.
Sixth, I think.
I have a birthday in October.
No, fifth. October 6th, that's right.
Okay. So,
Make the motion.
yes, Matthew, I'm sorry, you had something to say.
I just wanted to say that I absolutely love this ordinance. I think it's been something that's been needed for a long time. If I had any complaint at all, I'm trying to give a compliment sandwich here. It would be, when Kit read the purpose, I think so much of that is so correct and has been so correct for so long. That's what makes this ordinance so overdue. But so many of those benefits that are enumerated for small lot development are also true in many of our single-family districts or many of our form-based districts. And so my only complaint would be that maybe we should include districts like neighborhood conservation or neighborhood services as we, if we're going to go through the trouble of making these changes to all these others.
You got that, Jen? Yes.
and I guess my question on it is, about the lot minimum width, of 50 feet. That still seems quite generous, and I would like the staff to examine, either eliminating that or ratcheting it down to accommodate smaller housing types. But otherwise, I think this is definitely going in the right direction.
Mayor.
Yes. Yes, John.
Jeremy, I have a question.
Sir.
If we make this change, are we saying that the lots have to be small, or we're saying you have an option to make them small?
You have an option to make them smaller. Right now,
So
they're...
we're leaving the option with the landowner.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's nice to have options.
I'd move we table it until
6 weeks or October the 6th.
October 6th.
Second.
that one.
All right. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Hetty?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Okay, number 5, an ordinance to repeal Chapter 171, Street and Sidewalks, and to enact a replacement Chapter 171, Streets and Sidewalks of the Unified Development Code. Kit?
Whereas it is proper and appropriate for the City Council to enact a purpose section to Chapter 171 Streets and Sidewalks and to better define and clarify retaining wall. And whereas the Minimum Street Standard Manual needs to be updated from its 1996 version and be adopted as a technical supplement of the Street and Sidewalks chapter, and whereas certain technical criteria for street and sidewalk construction should be moved from this chapter and placed in the newly adopted Minimum Street Standards Manual. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby repeals the existing Chapter 171 Streets and Sidewalks and enacts a replacement Chapter 171 Streets and Sidewalks, along with the replacement Minimum Street Standards Manual of the Unified Development Code as attached as Exhibit A.
Oh, Chris?
I waited all night for this.
I know you're excited.
And I won't bore you with a lot of details, but I do want to say that this is a culmination of really several years of work that our staff has worked on this, and really probably over the last 6 to 9 months. We've been to the Transportation Committee 2 or 3 times, had lots of input from the committee, in particular from Alderman Petty, and I appreciate his input throughout this process. So we're excited to bring this forward. It's got a lot of new things in the document that we didn't even know about related to bicycle facilities, walkability, those sorts of things. It still has the good old hard engineering materials and testing requirements and all of that we had in there before. This was presented to the Planning Commission in July, and the Planning Commission recommends approval, and the Transportation Committee also recommends approval. So we respectfully request approval of this ordinance tonight, and I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, what questions you got, Chris? Yes, Alan?
I have one, and we talked about it at the Transportation Committee meeting, but I believe y'all were going to review that as staff. Section, and I'll be brief, this is just very quick, section 171.02, section D of the new code, it's page 377 out of 579 in your packet. When talking about gated communities, this wouldn't change anything in our policy, but the last sentence, it says, "and the city's policies in favor of connectivity, openness, and neighborliness." We had discussed just removing the last three words and just leaving it the city's policy in favor of connectivity, and removing the words openness and neighborliness.
You're not in favor of those?
Well, I just think it's superfluous language. I don't know why we even need that in the code.
Because we're a welcoming and loving city.
Some people are.
Excuse me.
All right, John.
That's something
And
y'all were gonna look at. Did y'all look at that?
That's certainly fine. Yes, that, we talked about that. If you want to make that, I guess that would be...
That would have to be something at this point that the city council would have to vote on, because it's now presented as part of the ordinance.
That's what we discussed at Transportation. I'll make that amendment as a motion to remove those three words, openness and neighborliness.
Chris, you don't think that would make any material change?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. Amendment to remove openness and
Neighborly.
neighborly.
Makes it connectivity.
All right, any discussion on that? Okay.
This will be an interesting vote.
I can't vote against friendliness and neighborliness, Judge. Mayor?
Little difficult, but anyway, Sandra, would you, please call the roll?
Marsh?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Hetty?
Yes.
Latour?
No.
Long?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
It passed.
I move we suspend the rules and go to second reading.
Second.
I might have had a little trouble with that one myself. Anyway, all right. We have a motion and a second to go to the second reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Hetty?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
An ordinance repeal Chapter 171, Street and Sidewalks, and enact a replacement Chapter 171, Street and Sidewalks of the Unified Development Code.
I move we go to the third and final reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to go to the third and final reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Hetty?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
An ordinance repeal Chapter 171, Street and Sidewalks, and enact a replacement Chapter 171, Street and Sidewalks of the Unified Development Code.
Okay. Any final comments from the council? All right. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Marsh?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Hetty?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our business. Is there any announcements?
Yes, Mayor, we have a couple of announcements. The last Gully Park concert, series is this Thursday, August the 6th at 7 p.m. This last concert is, the band is Fast Times, and it's your chance to pull out all of your 80s wear and dress up. It's an 80s night cover band, so I hope you'll come to that. It's Thursday, the 6th, this week at 7 p.m. Secondly, the city is hosting an input session to review the design concepts of College Avenue improvements this coming Tuesday on August the 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. To review the design improvements, the phasings of College Avenue projects. It's a planned improvements on sidewalks, streets, trees, lighting, and safety enhancements. Sorry, Jeremy writes about this big for me, so.
Any other announcements? Yes, John?
Mayor, next Tuesday night at University Baptist Church at 7 p.m., there'll be a meeting of people who are for Free Fayetteville, and they'll be featuring a couple from Oregon who were put out of business. Their bakery business was put out of business by the ordinance, a similar ordinance to what we're going to vote on in September. So it's for those people who want to hear that perspective, I encourage you to attend.
Okay. Al?
Mr. Mayor, It looks like someone left some flyers on our desk. Recycling in Fayetteville, the Omni Center for Peace, Justice, and Ecology will have a educational seminar on August 13th from 6:30 to 7:30. That's next week at some point. And that's gonna be at the Fayetteville Public Library in the Walker Room.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Energize Southside is hosting a 4 Points training with the Main Street Arkansas program on August 13th. That's a Thursday night from 5:30 to 7:30. And we'll be working with the Southside business owners and residents to help re-envision, redevelop, or not necessarily redevelopment, but an empowerment plan to revitalize our South School Business District, and the public is welcome and encouraged to attend.
Anything else? Okay, thank you all. We're adjourned.